match with anyone that isn't a wrestler? It can be an athlete, a fictional character, a celebrity.
Oh,
Who would it be with?
oh, anybody? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
anybody.
That's a
Yeah.
crazy question. Man, I feel like I've had thoughts like this all the time, but now that you've asked me, I can't like articulate a good person. Sometimes I watch TV and I just see a character. I'm like, man, that'd be such a good wrestling thing. But let me pull one out here. I think I'm a good bad guy. Honestly, okay, I have an answer. If I am working babyface, my dream opponent is Yosemite Sam from Looney Tunes. And if I'm working heel, my dream opponent is Bugs Bunny.
Nice.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I honestly, when I'm playing in matches and stuff, I just try to think of it in terms of Looney Tunes because I'm a very over the top, like animated person. So I try to like think of things and like, how would they do this on Looney Tunes? And I always think of those two specifically. And then sometimes you work with people who are really serious and they don't want to do cartoony stuff. And I go like, shit. Like, well, don't worry. I'll do the cartoony stuff. You just stand there and watch me do it.
Awesome. I love it, man. I love it.
When I was really young, Chris Jericho like resonated with me like immediately. So this is like, I think the first time I saw him, I was just like doing the late 90s WWF stuff when I was really young. I was like, oh, this guy's cool. He looks like me, kind of. I like this guy. And then I remember when he turned heel and became the Undisputed Champion, when I like hated him for it. And then I just thought how cool that was. Man, this guy, like, he was my favorite dude. Now I hate him. He's really good. And then I went back to loving him. So I don't know. Jericho was like my first. Kenta from in the Noah days was like one of my favorites. My brother used to like drive me across the country to like see Kenta and Marufuji when they came to Ring of Honor and stuff. So I would say like my top three in no particular order would be like Jericho, Kenta, and Bryan Danielson were always my favorite guys to watch.
Oh yeah,
which is funny because
yeah.
they're really good, and it's just funny because I don't wrestle like them. I do like mostly character based stuff and like and silly stuff, but those are the guys I like to watch.
Oh yeah, I mean, and agree too. I mean, Jericho, especially with Jericho, like, what are your thoughts as of him now, especially what he's doing in AEW, like as a fan's perspective?
It's crazy. Like the longevity he's had is crazy. Like, I don't know. Looking back to when I was first watching him, it never seemed like he'd be like the next Ric Flair in the sense, like he'd be a guy who's just around for decades and is like always good. I mean, to be honest, seeing him on social media and stuff these last few years has been a little rough, a little cringy. You know, you'd be like, we know a little too much about his personal life now. But aside from that, as a performer, he's very good.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. I never would have like picked him, especially like, you know, towards the end of his WWF run, he was leaving and coming back all the time. It seemed like he was kind of phasing himself out. And then he just went to AEW and just fucking off to the races, man. He just rejuvenated his whole career. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you made the decision to go to New Japan too, which was like mind blowing.
Oh yeah, how did I forget that? That was nuts. Yeah.
And like, did you ever like play the wrestling video games, or like, as the seat behind me, I have like the figures? Did you ever collect any of the figures?
People gave me the figures. I didn't really collect them, but I ended up having like 300 of them because people were just giving them to me. And but yeah, I have some of the. Do you have any of the WCW toys?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like I have a bunch of I think it's called like the Bruiser series of toys. I have like a bunch of those. I just remember when I was really young, they were like on sale at some store that's going out of business. And I bought a bunch of them, but I still have them and actually use them when I need to like think of spots that involve like multiple people. I like get these toys out just to kind of space it all out. Because sometimes it helps, you know, like to get it out of your head and see where things would lay out. So on my like work desk, I have a bunch like Mike Awesome, Rey Mysterio without a mask on, Booker T, and Chris Kanyon, like just sitting there to plan spots with.
That's unique and cool. Alex and I would talk about that when we were kids. Like, I wonder if any wrestler like gets a couple guys and practice it, because it makes sense. Like, oh man, this spot, and think of creative moves. I'm like, it's awesome to hear that from you. Yeah.
sometimes you can see it in your head, but when there's a lot of moving parts and you're like, wait, where does that guy, if I do this, that guy's here now. And then you just kind of just put it all in front of you. And then it's like, oh, okay, I get it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cause we never hear like I guess I think you're the first that ever said like with the wrestlers. Cause like everyone usually has a different way where they even watch tape or something. Mm-hmm. But that's so cool. We use like figures to like,
yeah. I'm sure other wrestlers do. I just bet they don't want to admit it.
They don't want to admit it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then I'll be honest, like we were there obviously supporting some of the wrestlers. They were also supporting some of our past guests, Blake Troop, which you wrestled.
Hey, I did. Yeah.
And honestly, like watching him wrestle, then when you came out and you came in with the spray bottle and you're doing your dance moves, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's awesome. I like already became a fan already, And then you also like you're making people hate you. You're a good heel. Like right away, I'm like, oh my god, this guy's awesome. Even though you did call me an idiot, but I did like it. I became a fan.
Now that I see you on here, I remember you at the show. I remember calling you an idiot, and you just smiled like it was like the nicest thing anyone ever said to you. Yeah. And it almost threw me off my game. Like I was like, man, he really liked that.
Yeah, I know, it was hilarious. Because you looked at me and it was kind of like you paused and you're just like you looked at me, you're staring at me. Well, you're an idiot, and then you just walked away. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Oh man.
But it was great. But also, like, tell me your thoughts. Like, what were your thoughts on working with Blake Troop, but also wrestling also Juicy for now? Like, what were your thoughts on those matches?
It's funny because and just hanging out at a few shows, like I hung out at a GCW show and one of the CWF Hollywood shows, and I met Troop, and I was like, this guy's cool. This guy's like super chill. I kept seeing him at the shows, and I just thought he was a really nice guy. And then when I watched a CWF show, I remember thinking Juicy was really good. And so did my girlfriend. She thought he was really good too. So then I got there and they told me that I was like, oh, yeah, tonight you're working Juicy and you're working Troop. I was like, hey, good. That's the guy that I like. And that's the guy that I've like talked to and he's cool. So it was a nice introductory way to wrestle. It was like two guys that I knew I could work with well, just based on my limited interactions with them. But Juicy's super good. I didn't know much about him. I've only seen a little bit of his stuff, but I had a lot of fun playing that match with him. He's super good. He has a lot of charisma and stuff. It's so easy to work with someone like that. And then Troop is just crazy, man. That guy's a monster. Like he's just, I don't know, he's so strong. He like shook my hand and like hurt my whole arm, and my arm bothered me for like 2 days after. And I didn't want to tell him because I just felt like a pussy, but I was like backstage, I was just like rubbing my arm like, god damn, like I have to wrestle that guy, he's gonna kill me.
Oh yeah, I remember the first time I met him too. It was at like at a jiu-jitsu tournament, and I shook his hand, and I was like, "Oh my god, this guy's huge!" I'm like, "I'm glad I'm not facing that guy."
Yeah. What is he like 6? He's like 6'4". He's all jacked up. He looks like he only drinks pre-workout. Like he's just always jacked up. He's crazy, man. Yeah, I love him, but he's crazy.
Oh yeah, and also talking about someone is watching someone wants to be a professional wrestler, wants to be in the business. What advice could you give to someone that wants to step in?
My advice to anyone who wants to be a wrestler is to figure out, I don't know, just figure out like who you are and like, I don't know, just be genuine. There's a lot of like, not a lot, but there are some wrestlers who play these characters that I just don't buy. Like, I don't know. Some people want to look cool and some people want to look tough, but you really just need to like know who you really are and just figure out a way to apply that to some sort of character. Like I'm not a tough guy. That's why I have long girly hair and I shake my hips and I act like a weirdo, because that's just who I am. If I try to act tough, no one would really believe it. So I just kind of believe in authenticity. Also, my advice would be to not do what everyone else is doing. Just like what I was saying earlier, just find things that are missing on the show and put it in there and you'll stand out. If everyone's doing the same thing, even if it's amazing, you're not going to stand out. There's a guy named Jock Sampson in the Midwest who's very good. He was working these AIW shows in Cleveland. And like these shows, years ago had like Ricochet, they had Johnny Gargano, Shima Zion, all these dudes doing this like crazy stuff. Then he would show up and do a hip toss and you'd get like this huge reaction just from doing a hip toss. because he just knew what was missing from the show was just like showmanship and like crowd work and stuff. So I'm a big believer in just giving the crowd what they don't have. They'll always latch onto it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. That's such a good